Hello, my name is Osita Ifezwe. I'm a storytelling strategist and the founder of Integrate Finland. I was attending a seminar 2 weeks back on the myth, realities of racism and anti-racism in Finland, in Turku. And it got me thinking because I was given a talk there on the reason why anti-racism is not working out for Finland. And at first, this might sound very controversial because it's a lot of energy and a lot of effort from the government side, especially with the action plan that they talked about that is going to come to address issue of racism. And this is the first time that the government and institution and Finland as a whole is acknowledging that there is a problem with racism. And that's a long way to come because when I came here in 2005, one of my first experiences in Finland as a black individual of African descent was that coming down from the Helsinki railway station, the escalator down going to the metro, some guy spat at me. And this was the first time that it occurred to me that I was black and different. Before now, I have lived in Brazil. And all through my stay in Brazil, I never felt that blackness. I was a Nigerian. I was an African. But it was from the incident that happened in Finland that I actually realized that I was different. And this was one of the reasons why I started that organization called Integrate, because seeing the problem that we were dealing with racism, we had to start discussing it. We had to find a way to understand how to deal with the challenge. And as much as the government is doing so much, and as much as institutions are working so hard to actually address this need, there still exists this disconnect between those who are designing the solutions and those who are the recipients of the solutions. Because if you take a survey of the people who actually deal with racism and the effects of racism, you would find that even though they see such initiatives, they don't believe it would work. There could be two problems there. One, that those who are designing the solutions don't really understand the problem that they are trying to tackle. And it's fair enough because if you have not dealt with racism, you wouldn't understand the effect of that on the individual, the mental, the psychological effect that the person suffered. So when you find this disconnect between those that the problems are designed for and those that are designing it, that gap needs to be bridged for there to be long-term solution. And that is something that is still missing, irrespective of the fact that the government institutions and many organizations, including civil society organizations, are doing quite a lot. We know these tools. This is a plier and it's multifunctional. This could be like a screwdriver, so to say. It could be a cutter. It could also be used as a hammer. So we can use it for many things. If you think about this tool, it's designed for a particular need. It's designed to fit a particular purpose. When we think about the analogy that I used now, when we design a solution that captures everything in one box, when you talk about racism, we know that there are different kinds of racism. But when you mix racism, diversity, inclusion, sexual gender equality, and all these other topics in one box and make them the subject of racism, it doesn't connect with those who are dealing with it. It's just like trying to fit this square peg in a round hole. We can try to force it in, but it would not give a clean job. The same way when we use this tool to work, it might not give the best quality in terms of job that we result we want. But when we use a precise tool for a precise problem, we get a better solution. Why do I talk about this analogy? Oftentimes you see that those who design solutions around issues of racism have never experienced it. And when you've not experienced the problem, you can hardly understand how to solve it. No matter how much you've given in terms of research, no matter how much you have experienced in that sector, you are experienced in that sector. And this is what we try to highlight here, that when designing solutions around issues of racism, oftentimes those who deal with it are left out from the center of the table. We've had experiences of those who are called to tables to actually share their stories, to talk about what they deal with, and they are not actually included in the design process. And when you do this, it doesn't build trust. Because for us to get a real solution to the problem, we have to first start thinking, how do we build trust in order to pass the message or to give the solutions that we are preparing or designing? And this is where we need to go back to the drawing table to find out, how do we fill this gap? Because oftentimes when we have events in Integrate, we find that when people come, they appreciate the efforts that institutions are having, but they still feel that their problems are not addressed in the solutions that are offered. So one way to do that is bring those who understand are dealing with the problem quite in the middle of the table. Another problem that I have seen in this sector is communication. There's often difficulty communicating what institutions are doing and what they have done to the right channel. Because when communication is breached, irrespective of how much work you've done, you cannot connect. And this is the goal, that we try to find ways to connect, to communicate things that are done, to communicate prospects and solutions that are being designed. Because when this is done effectively in the right way, using the right tools, then we start seeing headway with the problem we are dealing with. And I've seen this also even in the new generation, in terms of people who have been born here by immigrant parents, that they are also finding this disconnect. And for us to actually address it, we have to start understanding the problem. And this is why what I've chosen to do with my platforms is actually find ways to talk about these challenges as they affect the immigrant community, as they affect the locals. We've tried to do that with Integrate, whereby we kind of bring people who are dealing with the problem and locals so that they can come and understand there could be this synergy between them. And this is what I'm going to try to do in coming days, to write more about it. I've actually released my recent episode of Think About It with Osita Facebook podcast that actually dives a bit deeper into this. I'm going to be linking it with this video. So let's try to find ways, new ways, innovative ways of addressing these issues that has to do with racism. Because together we can build a solution or a Finland that works for everybody.